Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today for our Spring Town Hall. Twice a year, we come together and have discussions about more deep dive type activities here at the National Disability Centers for Student Success. The agenda today is as follows. We'll be sharing some information and some of our events that are coming up in the near future and things that have recently released. We've had a lot of things going on here at the center. It's very exciting, and we're excited to share that with you today. There'll be a little bit of a review of the type of products we have now and currently, campus spotlights in terms of accessibility. Today's topic comes from that group of activities, the campus spotlight. Wanting to know more about campus and what to do about accessibility, and that is what we'll address today. We'll have a panel today of two special guests who are with us, Mario Guerra and Jeff Freels. They're here here at the University of Texas at Austin. They have a lot to share with us today about their initiatives to improve digital accessibility here, and it's a huge campus that we work on. So this will be a good one today. We also want to know more about what's happening in your area, colleges, universities, on your campuses, and what you think we here at the center should and could do in the future. What sort of initiatives, programs, products, productions that you think would help understanding students with disabilities and how we can improve their learning experience while they're with us here. And then we'll wrap up after that. So that is how we're going to approach today. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this was recently released, very recent. College students nationwide reported on this. It's the College Student National Report. And working together as a team, we were searching for students with disabilities and the experience here in higher ed, in post-secondary spaces. So you can see the link there in the chat box. It's been put there for you. This report is outstanding. It's very in-depth. It was a search of both what students experienced from this survey. Again, it was a nationwide survey. And in addition, there were qualitative interviews conducted of a variety of different students as a diverse group. And the report itself is on the web page. And there's the key findings are there right on top. It's also available in a PDF. There are two available. One is the primary report with all of the findings and results contained within. And then the second one is the measure itself that we developed around accessibility. So those two PDFs are both available, and they have pretty big outcomes for us for year one for the center. And I highly recommend that you read it. We'll be sharing this out via social media here pretty soon. It's hot off the press. The QO code is here available as well on the slide. So you're able to download it in that way as well, the link or the QR code. So it's very exciting. That was a team effort. All of our students and faculty, everyone got together, and the staff, we did the data. I mean, we had everyone together. The design is beautiful. It's really well done. And I feel like this represents who we are as a center and why we're here. Next year and the following years, we will be using this as a foundation that will shape what we do related to faculty and disclosure, in addition to some other topics related to people with disabilities here on campus. Next slide, please. So we also have a series called Campus Accessibility Spotlight. So far, we've had 3. The first one was a title similar today. It was about digital content accessibility. We learned more about, and we'll learn more about that here in a minute. The second one was really about mental health and how to focus in that way. When you read our report, you'll see a pretty drastic increase in the number of students in mental health, specifically students with disabilities. It's over 50% of all students with disabilities are saying they have a mental health condition or struggle. And so that's really important to be mindful of when we're designing services and how we do our outreach. Mental health is different. It's a different type of disability than anything else. And then the third spotlight was about disability, the Disability Cultural Center, and how that is such an important part of the culture within the university or college. And what does it mean to set up a cultural center? And how does that provide resources and connection and really kind of lead to accessibility and accommodations and then to other link us to other resources on campus. So again, we have a QR code here for you on that slide. You're able to take a picture of that, and then that'll take you right to the website to read more about it. We're excited to have more of those. We have one we're working on currently, and that will be about STEM, science, math, engineering, and wait, technology. Okay, I got those letters wrong. You know what I mean. It's STEM, and we're going to think about accessibility within those STEM spaces. That's a special kind of access issue often. So I'll be following up with that. I'm actually going to ask you here at the end of our time together today, what type of topics or places you feel like we could spotlight across the United States. So keep that in mind as well. I'll be asking you about that. Next slide. Okay. Also coming soon is a webcast. So it's sort of similar to what we're doing today in our town hall, but it's more of a presentation and an in-depth dive into a topic related to accessibility and those different issues. We have three amazing instructors who will be joining us for that webcast. They'll be talking about really best practices, tips, and tricks, um, teaching in higher education spaces. And those three people are really involved in terms of how people think and gain access to information, how we teach the information, and how people learn said information in terms of, and also with a accessibility mindset at the forefront. So we look forward to that. That will be coming April 17th in the afternoon. So save the date. You can click on this QR code here on this slide. Go ahead and register today if you're interested in joining us for the webcast. I'm very excited about that. It's a part of our in-depth content series, so it's going to be good. All right, next slide. Okay. Live interaction, some face-to-face stuff. We've got these coming. There's one very big conference that is coming soon. It's in April as well, and that's AERA 2025, American Education Research Agency Association, and that's in Denver, Colorado this year. We have two presentations that have been accepted that our team submitted to AERA. One is related to that report I just mentioned that was released about the students with disabilities, their perspective, that report. And then the second presentation is going to be about community colleges specifically. Kind of looking at how those early courses that students take, math, reading, et cetera, how do they kind of relate to their relationship with disability services and how that relates to outcomes. So we've got a couple of teams of people on these projects that we're working on to get these presentations ready to go. We're excited about disseminating that information and what the process looks like within the research world. So you can find us at AERA live and in person. We'll hope to see you all there. All right, next slide. Okay, it's now time for our panel Very exciting. So, I would like to welcome these two amazing people that are a part of my life here at the University of Texas. And it's been more than a minute. All right. I've known these two for a while. So I'd like to first introduce Jeff Freels. Oh, here he comes. He's coming on screen. I've got them both. And I've also got Mario Guerra with me here today. So Jeff has a very fancy title. He is the Director of Assessment and Research and Evaluation within academic affairs. I fudged his title just now, but he'll fix that for me. I'd like to welcome Jeff and also Mario Guerra with us here today. Uh, and you are the director of something super duper important. It's the enterprise technology, something, something. I'm going to let Mario handle that one as well. I know he supports and manages all of the things technology and access for all of us here. So I'm going to let him handle that as well. So, welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining me today. Both of these gentlemen, as I mentioned, are colleagues of mine here at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm thrilled to have their support. Now, if you read the spotlight on the digital accessibility on campus, if you could read about the story from last year, and now we're going to catch up with them to today and see. We know how it started. Let's see how it's going and what their process looks like. Like I said, so we're going to do one of those today. We know how it started. Let's see how it's going. All right. So the first question is, who are you and what brought you to this space? And please fix what I said about each of your titles. Jeff, we'll have you go first. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie. My name is Jeff Freels. I'm a director in academic affairs. I handle a lot of stuff. Titles are just suggestions here at UT Austin sometimes. Either way, I handle accreditation and assessment, and do a bunch of other stuff at the university. Um, and although I handle that stuff, my really beginnings in higher ed go back to when I was a community college history professor. And I taught my first fully online course in 2009. And that was the first time I really recognized that digital accessibility was an issue for students. Students many times will take online courses for the convenience they offer, but if they're a student with a disability, that can be problematic, especially in 2009, before there was very much awareness, and there definitely weren't very many solutions for this type of thing back then. So it was something that I had been really aware of for quite some time as a teacher. And then when I came to UT Austin, it took on more of the compliance angle, and that's where my work in accreditation and things come into play, which is that it's part of my job to make sure that the university is out in front of potential regulations or new regulations or that sort of thing. And so that's really where my interest is. It's on one hand as a teacher, on the other hand as a compliance officer, and sort of where those two things meet is where I come into the picture.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and for what you do here at UT Austin. I really appreciate it. All right, Mario, more about you and what brought you here.
Sure. Yeah. So, hello, everyone. My name is Mario Guerra. I am the Director of Enterprise Learning Technology. In my role, my team is responsible for supporting, facilitating the learning environments for faculty and students. We manage our learning management system, Canvas, and the integrations that connect to that system, the tools that faculty use to deliver instruction to students. I've been at the university for 22 years. I'm an educational technologist, really interested in the intersection of technology and the learning experience. And what brought me to this work, well, I actually have a personal connection with digital accessibility. Both of my sons are profoundly deaf and have needed services since the time they entered public education. So I've seen them both struggle and succeed when they have support and services available to them. They're both now young men One of them is at a higher ed institution and doing really well. So this work was a personal connection for me, and I've loved being involved in this work. The compliance part is, as Jeff said, one piece of it. But I think that the way we've been describing it internally is it's just the right thing to do.
I remember somebody saying that in our meeting from last year. It's just the right thing to do, always. And so, one thing that I would like to give our audience a chance to kind of set the big picture of is kind of where you invest your time and efforts in terms of these projects, Project Ally, and the content accessibility, where it started, and kind of how it started, where it even came from, where that point is, and then sort of how it moved from that starting point along until now. Let's go with you, Mario. We'll let you give it a go first.
Yeah, sure. So the project started with a focus on instructional content. We knew that there were thousands and thousands of PDFs, Word documents, instructional content being loaded into the learning management system, and it was not accessible. We had heard from students, we had heard from administrators. So the project really started with a focus on learning content. And that's when we started in I want to say spring of 2023, piloting the Ally accessibility platform, integrating it into our learning management system and really trying to understand how what value that platform would bring to our campus. And we learned a lot of things from that initiative. So I don't want to take too much of the time talking about Ally, but I think that's where it started, but it has grown since then. And our focus is not only now on the learning content, we're now focused on everything digital accessibility related across campus. So I want to say 8 months after we started that project, we learned that the Department of Justice had started an audit of our digital accessibility landscape. So when we were brought into that project, we started an effort to create the Digital Accessibility Center that would support everything digital accessibility related across campus. So not only instructional content, but website accessibility, captioning and transcription for videos, content remediation for not only students, but staff and faculty, and also applications. The tools that are funded need to be scanned for accessibility. So we're now thinking about how we scan all of these tools and make sure that accessibility has been reviewed.
I really feel like that's a huge step forward, like just having access to tools to give information about access. Like this, it's a new game. It's new in this. And so I love that. Jeff, could you give the audience your perspective on sort of how you started and how we got here?
Sure. And I agree with Mario. Like, Ally was really the starting point, and it was because, gosh, we turned on Ally at UT in spring of 23, but I want to go back a little further to I think it was the fall of 21. There was a UT System Technology Teaching with Technology conference. I think Stephanie, you were involved in that. Um, and I had right around that same time, I had heard that Texas A&M had been audited for digital accessibility, and they had failed. And they were having to go to great lengths to catch up to regulation. And I went to now senior vice provost Art Markman, and I said, "Hey, Art, we're not doing anything for digital content accessibility. I think we need to do something. And then I'm also a member of the Disability and Access Faculty Advisory Committee. And I went to my friend Emily Shryock, she's one of the attendees. Hi, Emily. And I said, what's the most impactful thing we could do as a university? And her answer was really simple. She said, adopt Ally. And so I went and I went to Art and I said, Art, we're not doing anything. We're going to get behind the curve. If we get audited, and by the way, if A&M's gotten audited, you better believe we're next. I said to him, we should think about getting Ally and getting things moving. And to his credit and thanks to his leadership, he was able to get the provost office on board. It took a minute for us but he brought together a task force of people, including Mario and I and other folks who were interested in this. We landed on adopting Ally. We brought that started the implementation process in the fall of 23. Stephanie, partnership with you has been crucial into researching faculty perceptions of how faculty were going to greet Ally all of a sudden showing up in the Canvas learning management system. That was really impactful in terms of helping us understand how campus was going to react to this new technology. For those of you who may not know Ally, it makes itself known to faculty by having these icons that show up in the LMS interface. And so it was very important for us to be able to speak to faculty about that and help them understand what we were trying to do, and for them to understand that this wasn't something they needed to fix overnight. And then that picks up sort of the story where Mario took it, where that led later into the larger concern for digital accessibility. But as Mario just said, I'm not sure if he said this, but the Department of Justice just closed the accessibility audit on us, and they commended us for our efforts to improve digital accessibility. And I think a big portion of that is because we were starting with Ally before the justice auditors even showed up on campus. And that demonstrated to them that we were being proactive in this really important area. And so that is now resolved. We're good to go with the Justice Department on accessibility. Not that this work is done, but it's because it certainly isn't. But at the same time, because we were out in front of it, we've been able to be successful in terms of that, and we're making great strides. So.
I think also, in my mind, the big impact was to the students with disabilities themselves because they were involved directly in the project, in that pilot project. And that impact to me really helped me understand how students and faculty and staff and administration, everyone can come together and really have a collaborative effort in terms of how and what and why. Because as we know, the faculty is overwhelmed with literally everything. Online specifically and digital content has been a struggle, especially after COVID. When that just everything hit all at once and it all became digital overnight, and it was a lot. So I think at the point in time when Ally was established, I think we were trying to kind of figure out how we can fit expectations of the faculty who have massive responsibility. And then I got to give this to my TA. They got to give this to, they have to do assignments. And how are we doing it? So you did such a good job of really listening and thinking through the issues that were brought to you and then bringing in advocates and resources to support the faculty in these spaces and their everyday experiences of, setting up a PDF. It's like, hey, that was one thing that I remember, like, and it was so expensive to try to figure it out and kind of wade through that. Um, so how are you all measuring impact? Is it stories? Is it numbers? What are we doing? Are you setting up center impacts? Like, do you have different measures, different ways? How do you frame or describe the impact to your supervisors, your superiors, your administration? What does that look like? Jeff, or whoever wants to go first, it's up to you.
I was actually going to point to Jeff because I think what you were talking about earlier, Jeff, about the reporting to deans and department chairs and including that in your compliance reporting, I think is super important on measuring success. I don't know if you want to just mention that really
Yeah,
quickly.
so I'm really interested in the data around this, and so but also institutionalizing this work in a way that gets people acclimated to having conversations about accessibility. So two things that I think we're trying to do to measure impact, and we use Ally and it gives you we can get a composite score across all courses in a given semester. And that indicates that we're slowly ticking upwards in terms of improvements to accessibility, although those data can be tricky about when you regenerate reports and things like that. So it's challenging. But one thing we're trying to do is, so here at the University of Texas at Austin, there's a state law that every undergraduate course has to have a public syllabus and a CV for the instructor. And my team has been involved. I'm in academic affairs. We report to all of our colleges and schools every semester to say, hey, here's all your courses, and they have a syllabus and a CV posted or not, please fix it. Well, this semester, for the very first time, on that report, we've integrated data from Ally to show what the course accessibility score is in every single course in Canvas at the university. Now, we've said to people, look, this is not a compliance matter yet. Don't panic if the numbers aren't where you would want them to be, because there's lots of considerations that go into making these scores. But I feel it's really important to put that in there because this is an official process. And now we get to share data with folks around campus in dean's offices, where if they want to go in and see what is the status of digital accessibility in their areas, they can see it now. And we're trying to raise awareness with associate deans and with the people that work in dean's offices to make them more aware. I'm also working with Vanessa Ayala, who's in Mario's area, she's part of the Digital Accessibility Center, on how we can generate some data to get a better look inside of how we've been making an impact in terms of accessibility. We're just starting to dig into that. We're 2 years out now from when Ally was turned on campus, so it's probably a good time to go back and get some of that data and generate some findings. So we're hoping later in this spring and into the early summer to be able to have some harder data to look at. But my efforts have been focused on that institutionalization of digital accessibility, the sharing of data, while also being very clear to your point, Stephanie, about the communications piece by saying to people, yes, this is a compliance matter, but we're not pushing hard on the compliance angle. We're just raising awareness and trying to encourage good practice. And I think that's having an impact, and hopefully the data that we generate and we analyze later this semester will show that.
Yeah, so I think the data is a real concrete way to measure success. It's easy to show administrators that our ally score went from in the 50s to the 60s to the 70s. So we definitely want to see those numbers increase, that percentage increase over time. For us at the Digital Accessibility Center, and I do want to give a shout out to Vanessa Ayala, who's been managing that effort and doing a wonderful job growing that group's footprint. I think that's one way that we want to see success measured is how are we partnering with groups, with colleges, with schools across campus to really think about being proactive rather than reactive? I feel like with Ally, faculty see a score, they see a score in a PDF document, and they know it needs to be remediated. They send that PDF to the Digital Accessibility Center. Then it gets sent to our student staff, who then remediate that content, and we send it back to the faculty member. There's a lot of time and gap there where a student who needs that remediation it doesn't have access to that content. So how do we limit that or shorten that gap between having access to the content and the student being able to process that content? So we want to measure that gap right there and make sure it's the shortest amount of time or no time at all that the student has access to that content. And we think we can do that through partnerships with schools like College of Education, the School of Information, with with units like Disability and Access and the Disability Cultural Center. There's a lot of partnerships that we want to foster and people we want to collaborate with to make this a really proactive environment. And that comes back to the culture point that Jeff made. I think that we can start to really develop a culture around digital accessibility and improving that footprint across campus.
One thing that I wanted to remember, because my students, I teach online, completely online, and I teach, I don't know, over 130 students every semester, and they know about the resources from Ally, speech to text. They know, they just know. And so those resources are included there are great. And so we see students kind of pushing the use, not only what's available, but knowing it's available, but then they use it. So I wonder if you have any information about how students with disabilities or just anyone in general um, understands that access can provide resources.
Well, I will say from the data, we can. I haven't run a usage report from Ally. I don't think since January. But what I did look at the data from when we turned on Ally in March of 23 until through the fall, end of the fall 24 semester. And Ally data does not let you permit you to delineate between instructors and students. So you can't 100% see who's doing what. But the total number of downloads of alternative formats has gone up a great deal. I think when I had looked at from spring of 23 to September of 24, there had been a 76% increase or something of that nature in terms of the total number of alternative downloads, and then the number of users had increased by something like 124%. So it's very clear from those data that students and maybe instructors are much more aware of the availability of Ally alternative formats and are downloading them in pretty significant numbers. Like I said, I haven't looked at data recently, but I would think that that upward trend has probably only just continued.
And Jeff, that's word of mouth because we
Yeah.
haven't made a concerted effort to promote the alternative formats in Ally. And that's one of the things that one of our goals is start promoting these tools to the student audience. So I know we can improve and do better in that regard, but that's really great to hear the increase in usage of the alternative formats in Ally. I love that. Thank you for bringing that up, Stephanie.
Well, for sure. And I always have students say, wow, I'm so happy to have this. I'm thrilled to have access to audio or visual or just any number of different ways that they are able to access and read that information. And the last question I have for you is if we could back up just a smidge. Also, if the audience people, if any of you all here today um, have any questions, we have some time set aside for that. So just be mindful of that. You can use the Q&A feature or the chat box. All right, back to you two. Lessons learned. What would you have done differently? Or if you were consulting with another campus, I remember we had like three options to learn from. And now you've added to that resource. And so I wonder if someone came to you and started asking you a bunch of questions about like, hey, what did you learn? What would you do different? What would you say?
Know that I would have done much differently, but what I do tell people when I've been in conversations around this is that there just has to be a recognition that you have to be patient with this work. I mean, as I just said, when I first taught online in 2009, the tools that were available for digital accessibility were basically zero. I mean, I don't think even Adobe Acrobat back then had an accessibility function within it. Certainly, I don't think Microsoft Word did. And so the limitations were significant. And frankly, the limitations still are pretty significant. There's some PDFs we can't get to 100% accessibility. There are things we can't get from publishers to be accessible because they tell us they're locked PDFs and they can't make them accessible. And so there's still a lot of work to be done. And so what I tell people, the most important thing is you have to be patient with this work. I think it's steady work, culture work, increasing people's awareness of it, helping them understand what they can do in academic affairs, and not just for accessibility, but for other things too. We talk a lot about a plus one approach, which is find one little problem today and fix it today. That helps with faculty being overwhelmed by these types of things. So fixing little things a little bit at a time over time is going to add up. And so don't go into any digital accessibility effort expecting huge gains really quickly. Although I will say adopting Ally is a really good way to get yourself ahead of the curve, because it's probably one of the more robust tools that are out there. But you have to be patient with it, and you have to put in the work to raise awareness and help people understand what is involved and what they can do about it, even at a small scale.
That's a good one, Jeff.
Yeah, Mario.
So for me, I don't think I would do anything differently. We were blessed with opportunity and a great executive sponsor, right? I think that was really important to have Art Markman um, sort of take the torch and advocate for this work at the administrative, the executive level was really, really helpful. So he cleared barriers above us. Uh, Coming back to your point, Stephanie, about including faculty, staff, and students at the table when you start to implement or plan for accessibility efforts. I think that was a huge, it helped us understand the experience for everyone at our university. And that was really important. When you have everybody at the table, you can plan for everyone for all of those experiences. So really having that insight into the campus as a whole really, really helped us progress, move forward, and be successful in this work. So I want to commend Stephanie for participating in our effort and really championing it for the faculty community. So that was really helpful. And then having graduate students helping with research, just including all of those angles was really important to the success and to the narrative, to the story that we were developing and communicating.
I will say one other thing, Stephanie. I want to give credit to you. You know, you talked about the students that we've worked with in this process, and one of the things that's really so heartwarming is how passionate students with disabilities have become involved in this process. They obviously have a stake in it, but they work really hard. They're really creative and really amazing. And that's been one of the most fun parts of this work, is working with those students with disabilities and people who don't have disabilities who want to get involved because it's the right thing to do. People are really passionate about this work, and that's just made it really fun. And so if you can find that community of people and those students that are willing to engage in the work, it can be really productive for everybody in the process, and it just makes it fun too.
Yeah, definitely fun. And I think to kind of wrap up our panel for today, I know we would have a very lengthy chat. We could talk about this forever, right? But I think that people have to be involved in accessibility. It's not only technology. The technology is a tool, and that's not enough. The tool gives us information, it gives us opportunity, but the center that's running right now runs with people. That's how it happened. The research gathering and data collecting about how faculty experience the tools, that happens with people. The investment that the two of you have made comes from you as people. So, I like to remember at the end of the day, it's all about the people. And I know it seems obvious, but honestly, there is no way this works the same without the recognition of the investment of time and paying students. And please remember to pay your students, like all of the things. It's so important, and that it all boils down to the people. So thank you both so much. And if we don't have any questions, I think we may go ahead and wrap it up for the day. We'll say goodbye to the two of you. We've got a poll for our audience. So if you all want to close out your videos, And oh, bye. We'll see you later. All right. So the next slide is a poll for you audience members. It's a big challenge creating accessibility and digital content. And what is your biggest challenge? Is it understanding accessibility guidelines? Well, what those are? Is it using tools or software to make content accessible? A third option here is testing the content for accessibility. How do you know what's accessible or what's not? And then lastly, we have here balancing accessibility with time constraints. So if you would please give your vote here, which one feels like it fits the best in terms of your experience? And if there are any examples you want to add to the chat box, you most certainly can. All right, now the results have popped up here. So from what I see, it's pretty spread out across those four options pretty evenly. Number one, yeah, balancing time. Yeah, time is precious. We run out of it every day. So thinking about balancing time, yeah. And I say money as well, right? Cost issue, time, money, both are resources. Um, and then equal to that one is using tools. And how do we do it? What are we doing? What are we using? Then I can also see here understanding the guidelines and the testing itself. So those were both down at 17% amongst our audience today. So that's pretty good. That's good. That really helps us understand and kind of get a sense of what we can do next with digital content accessibility and well, where people feel kind of the pain points in this area. All right, next slide. All right, we've got 3 ways to keep in touch for y'all to connect with us. You can join our communications network. And the purpose of the communications network is really kind of cross sharing between your organization or what it is that you're doing with us. And we can kind of share back and forth. There's a special newsletter that we put out that's kind of community focused in that communications network. So you'll see that. You can sign up for that on our website. Secondly, I've already mentioned it, the Teaching Tips webcast. You can register now. That's available for you online. That's April 17th, coming soon. We'll have 3 very special instructors here that will be with us to talk about both online and in-person settings within the STEM fields and more technical fields as well. Then thirdly, also coming soon to Colorado, come on, join us. I'll update you about those presentations as the time gets closer. I'll share that information if you'd like more information about the data and the research release. So we've got these three ways to stay connected. Next slide. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming today. I know many people have 4 o'clock Central Time that you've got to run to. You may need a bio break and may just need a moment to yourself prior to said meeting. So we'll give you some time back. And we appreciate you joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.